It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. We are live in the Alico building. Pete Sousa, Scotty Swingler. The morning after, I don't want to call it an epic collapse. It's just sad. Houston lost the championship game that we all can say they should have won. And, they turned the ball over on their last 4 possessions. It was a game that, I watched a game with some friends from Waco. My friend Taina from KWTX, my friend Megan, and Taina's family, Madeline and Chris. And that sort of almost that brings my stress level down, because when I'm around other people, I sort of will hang and engage with them. As much as I love Houston, it's not like a blood relative. I would consider let's say the Eagles or the Phillies are playing in a championship, but I was still very, very dialed in. In the last 10 minutes, I was extremely dialed in. You know, you kind of cut the social out and you're really watching the game. And I felt it was it just shows that I know nothing about how the game is going to break and sports in general. And that this is what I mean. Like, none of us know anything. Like, the human emotion that you bring into these games. I felt really good about Houston winning the game pretty much all game long, and they lost. Conversely, on Saturday night, I felt really bad about Houston winning. And then they beat Duke. So the last couple sequences, you know, when Duke turned the ball, when Houston turned the ball over, Emmanuel Sharp twice, my heart breaks for the dude. LJ Cryer didn't get a shot off on those last two possessions, which was sort of unnerving. You know, and again, we don't know the reasons why. It seemed like on that last possession, Cryer just deferred to Emmanuel Sharp. Yeah, let's take a look at the last possession.
And that foul line has been a dilemma. They made the two big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance. 13 seconds left. Florida leads it by 2. Uzan gonna go. Uzan, give it up. Cryer, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Sharp. He walked. He can't touch it. He can't. 1 second. And it's over.
Goal crushing, man.
Florida is back on top of the college basketball world.
That look right there.
Championship madness.
Driving home, I had to remind myself that Kelvin Sampson was a very, very wealthy man and had a very happy and healthy life with a great family. And then I was like, all right, I gotta, like, you know, it's devastating for him, but he's got a good life, because my heart bled for him and his family, and his son. And, you know, that what they've done at Houston is so special. Taking a program that was on life support when he was hired by Mack Rhodes, and restored them to the Phi Slamma Jamma prominence without the Phi Slamma Jamma flavor, because, like, it had been so long. You know, that didn't even help them with recruiting and stuff. A lot of the kids they were recruiting they had no clue who Phi Slamma Jamma was. Like, you think JoJo Tugler knows who Clyde Drexler is? Like, no. And then after the game, you know, Jawan Roberts, and I'll tell you, with all the stuff that we're hearing about college basketball and how bad it sucks because of the business, I don't think we can lose sight of the fact that these are young men who are still being impacted greatly by their coaches and strong male figures in their lives, or on the female side, women figures, or you get my drift. They're being impacted by strong individuals, and those individuals are changing their lives. So I try to keep focus of the real positive as to what college basketball is bringing. You know, we're about to go in, Scotty and I were talking about this before we started. We're about to go into, I think, even this year is going to be crazier. It already has been. I mean, literally, it's hard to keep up. Jaden Quaintance from Arizona State's going to Kentucky, I read this morning. And that's just one of those things, like, you wake up, and Jeff Goodman reported that, you know, probably around like 9 o'clock this morning, like an hour ago. And there's more and more of that. And it's kind of time to catch your breath and to keep an eye on that. And nobody's going to love it. And we're going to talk to some developments in the Rob Wright saga coming up here in a little bit. Nobody's going to love all the changes unless a superstar is coming to your school. But I think we can find solace in the fact, Steve Lapis said it during a game the other night. And I saw it again last night. Mike Greenberg touched on it this morning, and I've been thinking the same thing. Dude, college basketball is as good as it's been in a long time. Like, the actual game and the players playing, like, you can say that there's a lot of interchangeable pieces and new players to new schools, but, you know, last night was April 7th. So you got a bunch of guys, and with Houston, the collective had been together for a while, the collection of guys. But even Florida, you know, you have some interchangeable parts and transfers and new faces. But everybody seemed like they were playing in unison and in rhythm. Of course, those last few possessions left a lot to be desired for Houston. And yeah, it's rough. And then, of course, there's a personal thread that I'm just like, why do I care? Why do I care? Why do I care? Well, I cared last night because, honestly, I took Houston to win the Final Four, to win the championship Saturday morning. So there's that. But whatever, you know, that is what it is. I try not to get too down about that, because you don't want to, it's not like I put the mortgage on it. But there's a lot of emotion in sports. And the last thing I'll say about the championship game, unless it comes up organically, we're going to talk to Cam Stewart from Locked On Baylor in about 20 minutes. But it was very, very, once again, eye-opening to see how human beings perform when great pressure is on them. And the sphincters got really tight for Houston last night down the stretch. And I do believe those gigantic arenas, if you go to, I went to see Villanova in the Final Four in 2018 at the Alamo Dome. I actually went to the Final Four in 2004 when UConn won it, but back then I was still drinking. So it's not like kind of foggy. But when I went in 2017, I just went to get a ticket because I knew a lot of people from Villanova, that Villanova family I grew up around would be there. Dude, you are so far away. And it gives a glimpse into, a very, very small glimpse, like a sliver of a glimpse into what those players are facing, like playing basketball in a football stadium, how overwhelming that can be, and what it really takes to cut through all that emotion and all that anxiety to find your way towards greatness. Houston couldn't do it last night. And Emmanuel Sharp couldn't do it. I hate that. But a couple clumsy final possessions, and he said in the locker room, that's on me. After shouting out some expletives, according to folks that were in the Houston locker room. It's interesting. We can say it's a business and all this crap, and these guys don't care. But if you were looking at LJ Cryer when he was walking off the floor last night next to Houston strength coach Alan Bishop, there was emotion there. That dude cares. And that wasn't about money. When Kelvin Sampson was walking off the floor and his daughter Lauren, who is in charge basically of their marketing arm and everything you see from the University of Houston's basketball team, she has a hand in putting that out there. He's walking off the court. Really, there's a moment where he's all alone and she scurries up to him and kind of saddles up to him, and she puts his arm around him and he puts his arm around her. And, it was reported by Pete Thamel, he just said to her, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, that human drama, man, is why we watch sports. And it's incredible. And it's the best reality television there is going in the world. Although Christy loves the Housewives. But I will take this over the Housewives because these guys have action. They're about that action on the floor, and they still produce drama off it. Let's go to our next topic, Rob Wright. So Rob Wright yesterday, I did a little, you're not going to call me Scoop anytime soon. This is not a Woodward and Bernstein operation, but I did, and I don't necessarily do this. But I did I heard some rumors yesterday that Rob Wright went to Newman Goretti High School in Philadelphia. And trust me, Baylor people, this comes back to us. So Rob Wright went to Newman Goretti High School in Philly. At the time, Kyle Neptune was the head coach. Jay Wright had his claws in Rob. Not claws. Let's say Jay had his arms around him because Jay is a legend. He doesn't put his claws in anybody. So Jay had his arms around Rob. I think there was some serious courtship going on there. Jay retires. Rob knows he's going to retire. Rob went to Mount Verde in Florida, but he still had heavy, heavy Philly roots. Alvin Brooks and Scott Drew do an amazing job recruiting him. He commits to Baylor. This is as far as I know on good sources. And so now we all know what happened with Rob, or we have reporting coming in. We know that he went to Baylor, is what my point. And he goes to Baylor, a great experience there. I had heard he was underpaid last year, and maybe that can leave like some kind of taste in your mouth. I don't know the exact dollar amount or figure amount, so I'm not going to say it here. I did hear yesterday that he was offered more than $1 million to stay at Baylor. Okay. And then I had talked to a friend of mine who's sourced up with Villanova alums, right? And Villanova desperately needs a point guard, okay? And Villanova has resources, like major resources. And I don't know, like, I'm not here to tell you, like, Villanova, Pennsylvania is like West Texas, dude. Or like graduates from Villanova are like big-time oil guys. I don't know where the money train, where the last stop is on the station, but I know that right now they've got a lot of resources. And I heard numbers from a guy this morning, close to $5 million that could be on the table for Rob Wright to go play at Villanova. I hate to talk about money, and all that stuff because it gets super weird. But I also, if you're going to watch this show and I have good information, I want to do right by you. You're investing your time in watching this. I do want to share with you what I know. And also I want to tell you I'm not throwing darts. Like, this is what I heard. Now, I'm not predicting the future. I'm not saying Rob Wright is going to, but this is what I'm hearing on good source and good information. And I think that, guys, if this is the truth, guys and girls, like, can we really begrudge Rob Wright? That's a life-changing amount of money for a guy who we don't know what his professional future looks like in the NBA. My heart broke for LJ Cryer yesterday because I did think to myself during that press conference when he's sitting next to Juwan Roberts and he's talking, and I'm like, what's LJ going to do? I mean, I really thought that. Like, are LJ Cryer's best years on the basketball court behind him? Probably his most celebrated years on the basketball court, probably the most fun he'll ever have on the basketball court, and more than likely his best earning years. Am I right, Scotty?
I would think so. Sorry, once again,
That's yesterday too. Microphone wasn't. I think you're right. I think LJ Cryer is destined to take the Pierre Jackson path, which Baylor fans are well aware of. Might have a cup of coffee in the NBA, maybe a little G League action, but probably making money overseas. Yeah, which great. You're making money playing basketball. Sure. He's gonna make money, but there's no way that's as fun as playing in a national title game for Houston. You know. I didn't say it a second ago, so I'll say it. Speaking of LJ, I was flabbergasted. There wasn't a better play drawn up in the final sequence for him to get an open look.
I think there was. Let's watch that again, because I don't like to dive into the X's and O's of it because I feel like I'm not
talk me through it, because
I feel like I'm not qualified. But when I watched this last night and this morning, Uzan runs into major trouble over here on the right side.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so Cryer has the ball now, right? Yeah, now Uzan has it, like, runs into a triple team, and now here's LJ.
Oh, I see, but that screen was bad.
Yeah, and he's so far from the basket. But I agree with you. Like, he probably could have done something. Far be it from me to sit here and critique LJ.
Yeah, or Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah, but no. To your point, I mean, as an average fan, LJ Cryer averages 19 a game, and he's been the heartbeat of that team offensively. Outside of a putback. Late in the game by JoJo Tugler or Juwan Roberts, and a huge three from Emmanuel Sharp that have been timely throughout the tournament, or like a design play for Roberts on the block, which happened every so often, which I did think was eye-opening about Juwan Roberts. I feel like he earned himself a lot of money over the course of this tournament. I'll be interested to see where his draft stock goes. But yeah, Cryer's the guy. He's the guy you want.
He was your leading scorer in that game too, by the way.
And were you surprised with his ability to, like, wiggle his way to the basket and get off shots? Like, was that something he didn't do at Baylor?
No, he did that at Baylor.
He did.
He was just behind, like, other – I mean, guys, Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell both playing in the NBA right now. Like, he was behind those guys. So, you know. Hey, I want to address this just because Scotty B's blowing us up with these comments about Rob Wright. And I mentioned this to you just a few minutes ago. Scotty B mentioned the burner. Did you see the burner from someone who was clearly Rob Wright's family? It was ridiculous. Then it disappeared. So
I can't believe I'm on a show talking about burners. I love it.
No, but listen, because this is where I got some of this information. So you mentioned the number you heard from a source.
I need a burner. Like, sometimes after I call games and people talk shit about me, I could use a burner.
Yeah, but if you get found out, there's like nowhere social. You remember when Kevin Durant had that burner several years ago now?
I mean, my guy, Brian Colangelo, when he was the GM of the Sixers, his wife started up a burner. Yeah, defending him.
Okay, so
you got fired.
Here was my experience yesterday with this.
I had to resign.
You got the data or the intel from someone in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I saw this burner that Scotty B's talking about, and I forget the name on the account, but it looked like it was like a baseball profile picture, but it was replying to every single tweet about Rob Wright talking smack. Every single one, like not even trying to hide it, and saying things like the funniest one was like someone said, "I heard his dad was getting into it. He needs the money." And this burner account replied, "Nah, his dad is really well off. From what I hear, he's doing just fine."
Oh, no.
Yes. I guarantee you, Cam saw it. Like it's so funny. And then that same burner replied to another account and said, "You don't understand. He's going to Philly for life-changing money. He was offered $5 million." And when I saw that from that burner, and then that burner disappeared when a bunch of Baylor fans start going, "Hi, Rob Wright's dad," and then the burner disappears, right?
No way.
Yeah, for real. So I start texting some people I know. I said, "Hey, like, this is what I assume Rob's dad was saying on Twitter. Like, there's no way that that's true." And someone that I know that is sourced up replied to me and said, "Nope. I also heard 5 million today. I think that's what he's going to make." Now, I didn't make the connection. I wondered if it was Villanova just because I saw the Philadelphia thing. But none of this has obviously been confirmed. But if he announces today he's going to Villanova, that's what it is. That's probably how much money he's making. And again, his deal, what I heard, his deal with Baylor was somewhere around $1.5 million, which is a lot of money.
That was, by the way, and this speaks to what I was saying, that would be a new deal, correct? Like
that's the deal he like tentatively agreed to a few weeks ago.
So the
correct,
new,
correct, yeah. And if it's true that Baylor offered him $1.5 million and Villanova swooped in with 5,
what are you gonna do?
All of us would have taken the 5.
Yeah,
like I will not make $5 million in my life.
Yeah.
I also want to say what happened to Rob was my worst fear about, and I only bring this up because Scotty B mentioned this too. Let me find it.
Scotty B, thanks, man.
Scotty B, you are bringing us so much hits on the algorithm with these comments. I can't find when you mentioned Sawyer Robertson. He mentioned Sawyer Robertson earlier. This was my fear with Sawyer Robertson. I was afraid that a Texas A&M, for instance, who might be like this close to competing in the SEC, would swoop in and just like double whatever Baylor was going to give Sawyer. And obviously we haven't heard anything about what Sawyer's making, but Scotty B mentioned Sawyer was underpaid last year. I guarantee you he's not underpaid this year.
No,
I guarantee you Baylor bucked up and he's making his money.
Well, and I also think like Sawyer enjoyed such amazing success playing for Jake Spavital.
For Spavital's offense.
That in itself.
That's a huge difference between football and basketball, by the way. The scheme you're in could be so different.
And playing quarterback, I think there's a huge difference there. And I think that's something you can look at and be like, okay, that is a fear. That's a huge fear. I mean, look, it's all a fear now. All this stuff, like anybody can go anywhere. I loved yesterday, I adore Fran Fraschilla, and he tweeted, he was like, basically, he's very honest and real on Twitter. That's why he had such great success on social. But he said, look, can somebody that knows what they're talking about start to direct me towards the future of what is going to happen? Because here's my
Nobody
point.
knows, though.
Here's my point. Like, as this whole thing ramps up, the honeymoon is over, like, once again, in a sense where the season's over. So, like, the distractions of the actual games are now over. Now all we're going to see is a waiver wire or transaction wire for the next like couple months. And we're going to see astronomical numbers. We're going to see players leave places, and, we're going to see coaches and programs feeling jaded. Like, if you think of this thing with Rob as bad, I mean, it gets so bad all over the place. Right. So, I mean, I don't know, man. What else? Any other comments?
I misspoke a second ago. It was our OG buddy Bear the Truth that said Rob was underpaid. So was Sawyer. So
I heard Rob was big time underpaid.
So here's what Scotty B said, that the other thing he said that about this situation I thought was good. He pointed out that part of that is because we were paying so much for Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier. And, it's almost like, I hate to keep just making the comparisons to football. I just know football better. It's almost like when you paid DeQuan Finn $1 million to come play quarterback, and by game 3, Sawyer Robertson was the starter.
Yes.
It's kind of how it felt with Jeremy Roach. You pay Jeremy Roach all this money to come be the starting point guard. He's going to become an NBA point guard. And like 5 games into the season, I mean, I went to a non-conference game against Sam Houston, and I was like, the freshman Rob Wright should be the starter.
Everybody thought that. Yeah,
like it was obvious from
people like you who were paying attention.
And so, and so Jeremy Roach is getting paid, we presume, quite a bit more than Rob Wright. And within 5 games, Rob Wright is your clear-cut starter. You have to imagine, like, that's frustrating.
What else was going on social media yesterday? And anything else that you noticed like that could be legitimate that was around the Rob Wright thing? Like,
oh, just a lot of smack talk about the burner. I'm sure Cam's gonna bring that up too, because I think Cam found it really funny. It was funny, yeah. So no, nothing else. A lot of Baylor fans are really angry. Like I think we felt that yesterday morning when we came in right after it broke. Lot of anger.
Do you get the feeling since the Scott Drew era has taken flight that Baylor hasn't been jilted like this? Am I? You correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the history like you, but has Baylor really suffered this type of X's and O's and emotional damage? In the same, I mean, of course, we can go back, and talk about football and a decade ago, but like right now,
that's the closest. I mean, not the closest thing. Those
but
things
like
are not
this
close,
is new. This is new. Like we're all in our feelings. Everybody.
Yeah. So. And Bear the Truth pointed out Scott Drew and staff are still trying to navigate the NIL and portal. I think that's true.
Yeah.
And here's what's so, and I feel like I've over talked about this, but like for any Baylor fans watching, I know everybody agrees on this. Two things Scott Drew was so good at that built the program into the team that eventually won the national title. Developing guys over 4 years. Again, I've named them many times. And transfers pre-portal. So whether it's Pierre Jackson coming in from a JUCO or Brady Heslip or all Baylor, we could name 10 guys, Manu Lecomte, all these like Makai Mason, all these really, 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 really good transfers that he would get as grad transfers or JUCOs that could play right away, but it was pre-portal.
Yeah.
He would find all these guys. Now it's just open season. Every offseason is every player in college basketball just looking for the bag or looking for the, I think Scott Drew's two big advantages away from the court, personnel advantages, they're gone. You're not going to develop any guys over 4 years. And I don't know that you're ever again going to find a Pierre Jackson at Southern Idaho. Like Do you want to tell me the one big thing that Scott Drew has that very few have? A trophy.
Yeah, that too. But
did you see my tweet about that?
No, what'd you say?
Dude, there's already Baylor fans. This happens on like a 3-year cycle. There's already Baylor fans who are like, Scott Drew's overrated. Let's get rid of him. And I tweeted before the game last night. I tweeted, you realize there are 6 active NCAA coaches with a national championship. After tonight, it will be 7. So at worst, this is how I judge you as a coach.
Yeah.
At worst, Baylor has the 7th best coach in the country. Let's just keep him. So what were you going to say? What does he have that nobody else has?
Look,
I was going to say a ring, but
you can agree or disagree or whatever, but I'm going to tell you something, and it's the truth. And I don't mean to misappropriate any of this, but he's got God on his side. And here's what I mean. Like his belief system is so strong, and it really is something that is so connective. It's a connective tissue with Scott Drew and a lot of recruits and a lot of recruits' parents. And it's so authentic that it really is like a tractor beam of recruitment that is genuine and attracts people to him. Which is, people come to Baylor because they get a chance to win basketball games, but they truly grow as people.
Yeah.
Like those guys like Norchad Omier.
Yeah.
Like he's got a very strong belief system. Like these guys want to go somewhere where they can foster their growth religiously and also foster their careers. And look, you can disagree all you want. I mean, if you have your own belief system, sometimes, I like to think that I believe in God hardcore every day. Sometimes as a human being, I struggle with that. So I have a higher power, but raised Catholic and being through what I've been through, I have a higher power that I call God. That's just me. You can be agnostic. You can be whatever you want. I'm still going to love you all the same. This is not about religion. This is simply about what Scott Drew has that other programs may not have. And this is another thing, right? I hate to make the comparison, but I'm going to. Rob Wright is now, and he sat there in that chair, and we talked about his growth and development as a man, his family values. God was a huge part of that. A huge part of that. However, Now he's going to play for a used car salesman at Villanova. We don't know officially, but let's just say he is.
We've both got good information that would say he's going to play at Villanova for $5 million.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, okay,
we independently. I texted you what I had heard last night, but we had independently discovered,
and we have no idea. He may go somewhere else. I still think, especially when you look at,
but I think
Kentucky,
it is safe to assume if he goes somewhere else, he's getting paid that much.
Yeah,
based on what we heard yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm seeing here Scotty B. Baylor is interested in Dan Skillings. Okay, that's cool.
Skillings and the he said earlier, and I saw this report yesterday too.
I heard that.
The
Yeah,
Michigan State
kid.
Trey Holloman. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do believe. Excuse me. I do believe that's like an intangible that Scott has. It's very real and is very appealing. I mean, you go back to a lot of the all-time like Bobby Bowden. Like Bobby Bowden with his deep convictions and religious beliefs. That's why they call him the Lord of the living room. He can go into a living room in the Deep South, and ultimately he's connecting with all the people that make the decisions in the family: the mom, the dad, the grandmother. So don't count Scott Drew. Don't count that out. Like his amazing ability as a man. And this is not devaluing anything that he has as a coach. We are just throwing it all on the table.
Yeah.
Like certain things that make him unique. Like that makes him very unique. I say it all the time, and people may get sick of hearing it. I've been to many a Baylor shoot around and some practices. The way that dude comes in the gym every day is like, and you can get King to talk to you about it. You can get anybody else.
Anybody that's played for him.
It's crazy. Like the positivity, the good vibes. Like, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And it's contagious, and it makes you want to be around him more often. Vice versa. It's like, Gino Auriemma talked about it after he won a championship on Sunday. He talks about how the girls kept him going because they were so energetic and positive, because he felt maybe the game had passed him by, and he kind of took their emotion and brought it back over to him. And he used that to parlay it into, another championship, a 12th, but more belief in himself. I'm kind of drifting. Go ahead, Scott.
No, you're good. So 3 thoughts that you raised. One,
stream of conscious over here.
That's right. Who's the one coach on Baylor's campus with a statue?
Oh, Grant Taft.
Grant Taft. You know what he was known for?
What?
All that same stuff you're talking about with Scott Drew.
Yeah.
All that same stuff. The one football coach that wouldn't cuss at you, that was always positive, but intense, like Grant Taft. So, like, I think Scott Drew, anyone that's loved Baylor for a long time, those comparisons are obvious. 2, I think this is maybe the bigger thing. And I forgot my third point. That's fine. This is the biggest thing I was thinking about. If you want to take religion just out of it, because I know you said, the fact that Scott Drew is a positive evangelical Christian, here's what it is. He's authentic.
Dude, and he's got this.
That dude is 110% exactly who you think
and
he
it's
is.
An unshakable faith. So, like, at the end of the day, he goes home and he's got a bigger belief that enables that, like, sunlight to kind of splash through him.
Bro, but it's authentic.
Yeah.
So this is the thing I heard from a pastor friend of mine who went to a retreat where with all the Baylor head coaches like 2 years ago. He said Scott Drew and Dave Aranda are both exactly who you think they are.
Yeah.
He said every time I would talk, Scott Drew's the first guy, shake my hand going, man, that was awesome. That was great. Thanks so much. This is great. He's gone. And he goes, and then after about 5 minutes, Dave Aranda's got a notebook open. And he's talking so quietly, I can hardly hear him. He's like, hey, man, can I ask you a couple questions about it? And he says he's got a notebook open. He's got 2 more notebooks in his backpack that he keeps with him at all times. One is just football, and one's like philosophy. And like, that's who they are. And here's what if you study Gen Z, I don't mean to over psychoanalyze.
I love this.
If you study Gen Z, they increasingly value authenticity more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's like the counter pendulum swing to this social media. Everything's fake. They are so used to seeing all this manicured fake stuff that really what speaks to Gen Z right now, including I'm assuming most of these basketball players, is, are you who you say you are, who you act like you are, or are you someone in front of the cameras and someone else at practice? Right.
Yeah.
And what Scott Drew and Dave Aranda both have going for them is, dude, there isn't an ounce of performance or fake in those guys. As much as I love Matt Rule, that dude's a performer. I love him. I think he's talented, great coach. He's a performer.
Yeah.
He's performing for the camera. Like Dave Aranda and Scott Drew, that is who those guys are.
Yeah.
And I think that is attractive. I think you're seeing it on both those sports, by the way.
Yeah.
Both those coaches. That's attractive.
So if you're looking for positives, that is one that is totally authentic and unique. So cling to that in times of doubt. All right, we're going to step aside, take a quick break. Cam Stewart's going to join us here shortly. I know he had to take the dog to daycare. What the hell Cam's doing that he can't watch the dog? I have no idea. Maybe that's a question we'll ask him here coming up in the next half hour or so. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics, coming to you from downtown Central Texas in the Alico building. Returns after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Hey!
Hey,
Cam.
You hear me okay?
Turn him up a little bit, Scott. I call you Scott.
That was nice and adult right there.
All right, so here we got Cam. Cam, we are like rolling here this morning. We've got a lot. I mean, we talked about obviously the title game, and that's not why you're here. You're here because you're locked on Baylor's Cam Stewart. And there's seriously, Cam, we were talking about it, like the honeymoon's over, like the basketball season is now behind us, and for the next couple months, it's going to be more unreal than ever. Just have the waiver wire, the transaction wire that we see in college sports, especially college basketball. You wake up this morning, Jaden Quains is going to Kentucky. There's rumors of who's visiting Baylor. We're just talking Dan Skillings. Baylor has interest in.
Yep.
So we got one Philly guy out the door, and we get another Philly Catholic League guy in the door, possibly.
Love that for you.
But what are, and by the way, Scotty and I talked about, I talked to a dude this morning from Villanova, a guy who I trust, who mentioned that they have phenomenal resources and they need a point guard, and that they are zeroed in on Rob Wright, and the number is astronomical. And there's a lot of, Rob Wright's out the door though. So I think there is some solace to find that, like, hey, it's $5 million, like, or around that. Who's going to compete with that? And honestly, Catholic schools in the Northeast, I don't know where the money train stops for Villanova, because I guarantee you can't do that every year.
Yeah, like, look, Villanova is perfect in terms of resources of what college basketball was like 10 years ago. I'm not saying they can't compete or anything, but that is a school that will invest in basketball, right? They don't have 1A football, a good D2 football, good 1AA football, but they'll invest heavy in basketball. They'll invest in the resources. They'll invest in a coaching staff. But that's the one that you're trying to figure out, like, is a school like that going to continue on into this NIL era? And clearly, especially with this revenue sharing that will at some point get passed here, they're going to put most of their eggs into the Division I Power 4 college basketball, all intents and purposes, Power 4 college basketball kind of basket there. So yeah, I've heard that as well. Villanova, new coach in the door with Willard, trying to make something of a splash. It gets Rob Wright closer to home. And yeah, I mean, the figures being thrown around are incredible. I've heard anywhere between $3 and $5 million. The offer from Baylor was north of $1 million, which for a school like Baylor, that's a pretty good chunk of change for a school like Baylor that also needed to replace almost their entire roster anyway. That's a big time commitment. And if you're from Scott Drew's standpoint, and you're, offering the kid whatever, $1.5 million and giving him the keys to the castle here, and he says, no, I'm going to go get $4 to $5 million somewhere else. What are you going to do? Like, what do you do at that point? And, all the reports coming out, and this is what I've heard as well, is that this coaching staff was completely blindsided by it. It is one of those things that you would wish you would have known 3 weeks ago. And that absolutely factors into how you're hitting the transfer portal monetarily or not. So now you've got, in theory, $1.5 million to spend around there, but who are you spending it on? These kids were wrapped up 3 weeks ago.
So what are your thoughts, Cam, about like what Baylor does from here? Like, where does this school and this program go from here? Right now, the cupboard's barren, but you also, like you mentioned, you got money to spread around.
Yep.
What are you hearing? Not only is Cam a brilliant basketball mind, but he's also a reporter at heart. So this is, honestly, Cam, this is a time for you to flourish.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, let's find out. Do you have any idea of what these guys are going to do to make this manageable heading into the season?
Well, I think this is a really, and I said this before when the offseason began, but now it takes on even more water here of this is a very important offseason for Baylor basketball, not just for next year, but for potentially a decade here. Because what we just asked about Villanova, we can ask to a certain extent about Baylor. Like, how much are they going to invest in basketball going forward? Because they have not spared any dime here the last 5 or 10 years to improve their men's basketball program. And it obviously worked to great results with the national championship in 2021. And now you've got a scenario where Scott Drew's got to buy a team. That's not what he's used to. I know it's the same way for a lot of college basketball coaches, but certainly with a program like Scott Drew, like that's not what you're building it on. And you've got to go out there and use all your acumen for having an eye for talent and also being able to manage a money side of it. So, do I feel that bad for these coaches that make millions every year? Limited sympathy, but it is a totally different job than what he signed up for and a totally different job from what it was 2 to 3 years ago. I keep bringing up the example of Arkansas. Arkansas last year, big program, Hall of Fame coach coming in. I think you could say the same things about Baylor, right? Big program, Hall of Fame coach. And they needed a whole new team. And Arkansas, the difference between Arkansas and Baylor is Arkansas's got Walmart money. Baylor does not. Baylor does well, but they don't have the kind of blank checks that the Arkansas family can throw out there. And so Calipari goes out and he buys the best team money can buy in the transfer portal. Like, seriously. I mean, they get like 10 of the top 30 guys in the portal, something crazy. They get all these plug and play starters from major programs, guys who've been in the Final Four, this, that, and the other. And they were a couple of bounces of the ball away from not making the tournament. They do make the Sweet 16, and that's kind of the nature of the beast. That's what counts, right? But they were a 10 seed. They started 0-5 in the SEC. So that's like kind of the barometer I'm going off of here. Baylor doesn't have that kind of money. And they were in a situation similar to Arkansas last year when they did have some returning players. So I'm interested to see how they go about it because they continue to have interest and obviously get commitments from guys who only have 1 year left. I think at some point you're going to see a handful of guys that you've really never heard of, like not just, I'm just finding out this guy because of the portal, because that's most of us, right?
Yeah.
But like you will have to start seeing mid-major guys. And you did see JJ White from Nebraska Omaha. I guess technically Oregon State's a mid-major now. But I'm talking about guys like an Adam Flagler back in the day who you're like, this kid's a sophomore from Presbyterian. And yeah, he shoots 44% from three, but he plays like 22 minutes a game at Presbyterian. What are you doing? And then that guy became an All-American for Baylor. So,
dude, that's a slippery slope. And that brings me to my next question. Like, if you bring in a bunch of guys, if you get that architecture wrong, you can be in big trouble because then you don't have the horses, right?
And the other problem is, Pete, even if you do get it right, you could be in the same boat next year. Like, let's say you get it right. Let's say you bring in 10, 11 guys here and 6 of them are damn impressive. You might only have the money to pay 3 or 4 of them the next year. And you're just up a creek again. Or maybe 6 of them are impressive, but 3 of them are graduating. So you also have that problem too.
Are you hearing anybody that Baylor is zeroing in on that could get people excited? That's one question I have for you, and then I have a kind of a follow-up to that.
Not really. And I don't know the names of the guys that they were looking at before Rob entered the portal, because there's that report from ESPN that was saying like they turned down some elite portal prospects because they thought they had Rob Wright. The only real name that I was hearing was Dan Skillings from Cincinnati, which is now the name that is out there. Skillings is
not an overwhelming, like,
not at all
guy to get excited about. I mean, I
not at all.
I called a couple of their games. Like, okay,
Skillings is a nice player. His role diminished. He tested the waters of the NBA draft last year, and then he came back to Cincinnati, and his role diminished on a team that was just as bad as the year before, and one that you said lacked some serious talent to beat Baylor, and you were right the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one that I heard, and it's a name that but it's not anything to get excited about. I don't think they were going hard for Jaden Quaintance, which would have been really nice. I don't think they have the paycheck for that, the checkbook for that. But that's really the only like concrete name that I've heard. And now that was out there as of yesterday. So yeah, not one that you get excited about. But then again, you look at a guy like Michael Rataj from Oregon State, the first commitment they got. I had never heard of him. I didn't watch Oregon State this year. But the numbers are pretty good, and he's a guy who averaged in double figures, was an all-conference guy in the West Coast Conference, could shoot it a little bit, inside out, can defend a couple different positions. Like, there's some value there, but I don't know that this is going to be an overwhelming amount of guys you've heard of. Last year, they got 2 guys you'd heard of, right? 2 all-ACC guys, Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier.
Yeah.
The year before, Jalen Bridges, wasn't an all-conference guy, but was a good young player in your conference. That was someone you'd heard of. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do love the Obi Agbim pickup, and he's a mid-major guy, so that's why we didn't hear about him. But no, I don't think any big names, not that I've heard anyway, Pete.
I do get scared. And again, I have such faith in Scott Drew, but I do get scared sometimes of like coaches huddling up and being like, we're going to do it with our guys our way. Like that's a good way to have like a bunch of guys who aren't that talented playing basketball for you. Do you think that is the talent still, and again, I'm not saying you're staring at the transaction wire, but like, is there talent in the portal for Baylor to collect enough ability to at least, I mean, because last year they entered the season with so much excitement and so much fanfare.
Yeah.
Clearly that won't be the case this year, right?
Yeah.
But, can they, to enter the season as a team who is a top 25 basketball team, are there the tools and the players out there that they can get?
Yes, not to be a top 25, but I look at some of the teams that were kind of on the fringe / just missed the big dance from the Big 12. And I look at a team like Cincinnati, a team like Kansas State, and I look at those and I'm like, there's no reason that Baylor can't build a team comparable to that.
Yeah.
And at that point, and we're talking preseason projections to be comparable to that. And at that point, if Obi Agbim does come in and has an all-conference season like he did in the Mountain West, then maybe you are talking about the tournament. But I think that's where the kind of expectations need to be is to have a goal to make the tournament as we look at it on April 8th.
All right, let's get into the Real Housewives side of this. Like Rob Wright, burner, and all that stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
What did you make of some of that stuff? And what was to you the most amusing part of a wild day on social media in the aftermath of a heartbreaking loss for the Baylor basketball family?
Well, I think what we kind of need to just step back and look at this for what it is at face value, Pete, because we see stuff like this kind of happen all the time now. But there's this account on Twitter that is just defending Rob at every turn. And you see, fans will do that. But then it starts becoming like, no, his dad ain't part of this. His dad does well. His dad makes good money. And talking about him like getting closer to home and playing with this guy he played with in high school. And I'm like, dude, I knew guys like when I was in high school that were kind of local legends, good high school basketball players that you'd follow their careers. But this was a little fishy. And just taking it at face value, there's a guy defending who has JT Real Muto as his avatar, just trying to be this Philly guy.
JT Real Muto, no, stop.
Yes, that was who it was on it, Jim. And it's clearly someone related to Rob Wright. And it unfolded pretty quickly. Like everyone was kind of on the same page with it. Like, this has to be Rob Wright's dad. And I didn't actually notice it for like the first hour or so until he tweeted at Locked On Baylor about something about the staff.
Oh, he tweeted at you.
Yeah. He was responding to like I put out the video of the Wright transfer. And he was saying something like, yeah, this is the staff's mess. They did this problem. Maybe you should be blaming them. And I was like, well, I don't really think it's the staff's fault. And then I started looking at his tweets and I said something in return, like, thanks, Mr. Wright. Like, appreciate it. Like that in itself is wild. And what we hear behind the scenes here, and our guy, Ashley Hodge, put this out. No one's more plugged into Baylor basketball than Ashley Hodge. He says, Rob Wright is being manipulated behind the scenes and it's not by an agent. And that clearly leads to Rob Wright Jr., his father, and especially if this Villanova rumor is true, to get him closer to home, it sounds like he was brokering the deal because what you've seen in reports now and what I heard last week was the Rob Wright thing was sorted. Like he was getting his money, he was getting to run this thing. They were very confident in keeping him to the point where, again, this ESPN report was saying they were turning down other guys in the portal, and he didn't have an agent, doesn't have an agent. And now all of a sudden he's getting this, potential $5 million deal for a school that's a half hour from where he grew up. I wonder what that is here. This is a like a family posse thing going on. So yeah, this Twitter just burns down yesterday because almost instantly, after months of him doing this, all of a sudden he comes at the Baylor burners and they find out right away. Like this has to be Rob Wright's dad. It's just like that's a day in the life in 2025 college sports now.
I'll tell you one thing, and I'll leave you with this. I do want to get your thoughts on this because let's have a little Scott Drew gratitude. You know, Kelvin Sampson turned 70 soon. Flirting with his 800th win, and that face after that loss last night for a couple of seconds said it all. And I thought, as a Villanova guy, man, how lucky are we to have won those titles when Jay Wright was there? It is so hard to win a championship in the NCAA, and I think we lose sight of that sometimes. And I think we expect it and become entitled. You just saw the face right there. Do moments like that and games like that, and you know, watching a team like Houston just so crestfallen and heartbroken, does it kind of trigger that gratitude inside you? Like, well, it is pretty amazing that Baylor was able. And a program, by the way, let's talk about Dave Bliss and having one player kill another. You know what I mean? Like,
and beyond that, not having much history anyway.
Yeah.
Like beyond that, you know what I mean? Obviously, they make a couple Final Fours in 48 and 50, but there's not much in between, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely – I think all Baylor fans took a step back last night and said, you know what? I don't care how many people were in the stands. I don't care how people remember it. I don't care what's happened since then. Like, we have that national championship. And I hesitate to say things like this of like saying a program deserves it or a coach deserves it that doesn't get it because, you know, there's a clear roadmap to get there. You know what I mean? It's not like a lifetime achievement award. So I hesitate to say that, but like you look at what Houston's done the last 6 years and you look at Kelvin Sampson's career and there's no reason that program or Kelvin Sampson shouldn't have a national championship. And a program, by the way, that has had 3 different waves of this team should win it all, right? Like Elvin Hayes, late 60s, Phi Slamma Jamma, 3 straight Final Fours, and this era right now. And, you know, I always kind of think this way about sports championships of like leading up to this championship game, the teams you remembered this year were Duke with Cooper Flagg, and I think Auburn to some extent, and then Houston. You know, this ragtime kind of, you know, ragdoll kind of defense they play, the way they practice, Kelvin Sampson, these players that, you know, like leading up to last night, you would think, you know, between these two teams, it's Houston's year. And then it's not. And that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. The same way a lot of people would think of Gonzaga in 2021, but they didn't win it. So all that to say, yeah, it does make you grateful for it. I wouldn't say I'm exactly rooting for Houston nor LJ Cryer, but like Kelvin he has the resume to win this thing. And it would be sad if he never does. You know, Boeheim kind of got a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2003 with Melo. So,
and it's similar, by the way, a similar ending to the game, like with that Hakeem Warwick block. It was reminiscent of last night. It's like an amazing defensive stop. That was great defense by Florida.
It was. I think they could have drawn up a better play, Houston. I don't think with this play is they didn't put any pressure on the defense. And I know they're limited offensively, but you're down 2. I don't mind going for 3 in the win. I like the balls on that. But let's have an outlet where we can get a quick look at a 2 if it's not there. I don't like the ball leaving LJ Cryer's hands as a pass. I just don't. I don't like the guy, but I mean, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the country. He's the only real 3-point threat you have. And that's what happens when you force the ball out of his hands. And, you know, and what I mean by putting pressure on it is it's like if you have an easy outlet there, force him to make a play, force him to double you on the 3-point line and say, and potentially give up an easy 2. They didn't quite do that.
Yeah. All right, Cam Stewart, he's coming up on the Cam Show, Locked on Baylor. Of course, you can find it anywhere you need to figure out what's going on with Baylor basketball, football, and who knows what else.
Who knows, Barnes, man?
I might apply for the Arizona women's basketball job. I got to talk to Drake about that. Adia Barnes left to go to SMU, and I saw on Barstool, Arizona, that the job has been posted online.
Love that. Indeed, LinkedIn, autofill my resume on file.
All right, Cam's coming
other
up.
Duties as assigned.
I appreciate you taking the time. This was a busy day for you. And it's a real hot topic.
2.5 hours to go 22 miles this morning. How about that? They don't
Welcome
make
to
it like that in
Chicago, pal.
Texas, man. They do not make it like, God, do I miss Texas today. That would have been done in a half hour.
Texas
Easy.
is the best, dude. We miss you in Waco. All right, Cameron. We'll talk to you later. Cam Stewart, he's coming up next. Quick break, and we'll wrap it up. The Pete Sousa Show presented by over here. Hold on. Slovakics. It's up there. Bye. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Calling all Marvel fans, get Marvel Unlimited and unlock over 30,000 comics featuring your favorite heroes and iconic stories, all available to read anytime, anywhere. Whether you're into classic tales or the latest adventures, there's something for everyone. Don't miss out. Head to marvel.com/unlimited today and start your Marvel journey now.
And now, back to our show.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show will continue tomorrow. We are going to talk Masters. That's right, the Masters is coming. Not only are we going to preview the Masters, but we're also going to give you ways to win money on the Masters. And after last night's loss, I can use it. We'll have an expert helping us out tomorrow. For now, we wish you a great rest of your Tuesday, right, Scotty? All right, baby. Taco Tuesday. Enjoy it. Thank you, Slovakics, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, D1, Sikora Family Ford. I was with Taina Maya last night, and we were singing the praises about Sikora Family Ford. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.